Hey guys, welcome back. So far we saw how to add React.js into a Rails app, how to create both functional and class components, and how to manage states within both types of components. Okay, and we also learned the render method, constructor methods, props, and states. And I believe this is enough for now to start with Rails and React both. Okay, so now we need to switch to the Rails part, and here we need to create an active record model and then create an API endpoint to return the collection of data. Okay, and then we will display that collection returned from the API into a React component. But before start this part, I just wanted to let you know that if you did not practice the amount of React that we practiced so far, then please finish that part first and then start from this lecture. Else you might need to look back and forth. Okay. Now let's discuss what we're going to do in this lecture. Here we will create an active record model and then we create an API endpoint. So if you remember, we created two React components into our app, and that is question list and the question detail. So we will create a question model into the Rails with exactly two attributes, title and tag. I'm just trying to make sure that this should be similar to the dummy list of questions that we have right now. So let's open the project directory, and here you can see that in the question list we have some questions. Question list component, we have some question, and question list is a dummy list of array, a dummy list of questions. Okay, so now we need to generate a model into the Rails. Okay, so switch to the terminal, and into the terminal you need to run the command Rails g model. Okay, and model name must be question. Not must be, it should be. You can choose another model name as well, or you can do make some another list as well. Okay, so it's totally depends upon you, but now for this lecture I am choosing the question model. Okay, and this question model must have two attributes, that are the title, okay, and then tag. And run this command, this will generate a model migration file. Okay, and after the model and migration has been generated, you need to run the Rails db migrate. Okay, because this will create the table for question model into the schema.rb. Okay, now you can verify it using schema.rb. So let's open the schema.rb, and here you can see that we have one table. Okay, questions with title tag. Okay, now what we need to do, we need to add some basic validation into the question.rb. Okay, so what the validation could be, let's say it should be validates, validates title, and the title must be present and it should be unique. So presence to, and then uniqueness true, and then validates tag. So tag must be present, so only it presents true. Okay, and save this. Now we need to add, now we need to populate some dummy records into the seed file. Okay, because when we fetch the questions data from into the React. Okay, so we must return some question objects. Okay, so since we are not having any forms for creating it now, so we need to place all the dummy question list that we have in React component into the seed file, and then we will run Rails db seed to all the question created. Okay, and I will also attach the link of the seed file into the description of the lecture, so you can get it from there and paste into your seed file. Okay, so first open the question list component, and here you can see that I have question list constant. So just copy this const and paste into the seeds.rb. Okay, now you need to remove this const from here, because in Rails we cannot use const, and here you need to add question dot create, and then now place all the parentheses, all the objects with a proper indentation, and add a closing parenthesis here. Okay, and now remove the id attribute from each object or each hash. Why? Because in React component we added this id intentionally, just because we need to add a unique key attribute in every component, or every component that is rendered. Okay, now Rails will generate the id automatically whenever the record saved into the database, so we don't need this id attribute now, so we can remove that. So just do this for all the objects. So let's remove for 5, for 6, and for 7, for 8, for 9, and for, oh, we have 16. So let's remove this for everything. Okay, and now one more thing, while removing these IDs, I just wanted to tell you that just look at this question, and these questions are based upon the Ruby and React. So this will definitely help you when you appear in any interview, because these are really quick fire questions and you must have answer to all of this. So okay, so we are getting two advantages. We are learning the Rails and React as well, and we are getting the interview questions as well to get more better job. Okay, so now save this and just add a puts command here. First make this question only, remove the question list. Now add a puts command, and that puts command must be that creating questions, and then you need to add one more puts command at the end of the query, that is questions created. And now save this and open the terminal and run the seed file. So what you need to do, rails db seed, and once the seed file run, you can check into the console that the records has been created. Okay, so you can see that we have the initial puts command, output of initial puts command and output of last puts command. So open the rails console now just to check that how many questions has been created. Okay, so let's see that. So you can do simply question dot count. Okay, so you can see we have 16 questions now, and you can also run question.all. So you will get the 16 objects of the question, and both has two attributes, that is title, tag, okay, and ID. Now we don't need to add ID into the React component. Okay. Now, after the questions created successfully, we need to implement an API endpoint which will send the question collection to the React component. Okay, so to do that, first open the routes.rb. So here you can see that this is my routes.rb so far. Okay, and let's remove all these commented lines because that does not make sense to have in routes. Okay, now we need to add some routes, and we will create the namespace routes. Okay, so let's add namespace API do, and inside this API namespace add another one, that is v1 namespace v1 do, and now inside this namespace v1 let's add our resources questions, and then only index. Okay, why I'm using this only action, because till the next coming lectures we will only work with the index section. Okay, so that's why I'm using resources only index, because right now I want to work with only one index section. Okay, and here you can think that why I added the namespace API. Okay, because we are using React into the Rails application together in a single application. Okay, so this is a full stack application, and suppose in future if I want to serve some templates using Rails views, not from the React components, then I can use the resources as usual. Okay, so that's why I'm creating a namespace routes here. So it would be a separation that whenever I will provide any collection to the React component, then I can use the namespace routes, else I can use the normal Rails routes. Okay, if I have to serve that from Rails templates. Okay, so now save this, and what we need to do now, open the controllers directory, and into the controllers first create a new directory that should be API. Okay, and into the API now create the v1. Okay, and into the v1 now create a new file, that is questions controller. Okay, so save it, questions controller.rb. Okay, and now let's implement this. So class API, then v1, then questions controller, and inherit it via application controller. Okay, now close this, and inside this controller what we need to do, we need to add an index section. So def index, and inside this index section let's fetch all the question at once. Okay, so at the rate questions equal to question dot all. Okay, and now what we need to do, since we fetch the entire questions into the date from the database, now what we need to do, we need to render this question collection to the React template. Okay, so there are three ways to render the JSON objects. First, we can use the JBuilder templates. Okay, For now I am avoiding that. Okay, you can use the active model serializers as well, okay, where you can select some attributes or you can provide the JSON collection, or you can use edge JSON method as well. Okay, but now for now I'm simply using the render JSON method. Okay, so let's use render JSON. Okay, and to this JSON just pass at the questions collections. Okay, and then status is okay. Now, what we need to do, we need to check that this API endpoint is returning the data into the JSON format. Okay. So let's switch to the browser and visit the questions action. Okay. So open the browser, and into the browser, what we need to do, localhost 3000, comma API, comma v1, and then questions. Okay, when you hit the request, you will get that we are getting the collection into the JSON format. Okay, now what we need to do, we need to provide this collection to the React component, because this is the same as we are using into the question list component right now. Only the created and updated fields are extra. We can remove this from collection as well, but for now let's keep it. Okay, so before closing this lecture, let's see what we have in question list component right now. So uncomment, sorry, just keep it. And here you can see into the question list array what we have, just pair of JSON objects, and in every JSON object we are displaying three attributes: ID, title, and tag. So now we are getting title and tag like this. So ID, then title, and here are tags and created and updated attributes. Okay, and you can see this is for until ID 16th. Okay, so we have the collection of JSON objects of questions into provided by the API endpoint. So here we created the question model in Rails and implemented the API endpoint to return the question collection in JSON format to use in React component. And that thing we will do in the next lecture. Okay. Meanwhile, let's try this lecture at your end and create the model with an API endpoint. You either follow the same or create a new lecture of your choice. Sorry, a new model of your choice, not the lecture. Anything will work, but just practice. Okay. So thanks for watching this, and let's meet into the next lecture. Till then, tata, goodbye, take care, and stay safe.